All right, let's dive into something we all think we know. Adverbs of frequency.
Yeah, O's.
But get this, our source material. An English learning podcast that's like a casual chat about morning routines.
You wouldn't even realize you're learning grammar. It's sneaky.
Right. They've got these two, Stephanie, Jacob.
Okay.
Stephanie's describing her routine. It's long, by the way. And she's just casually dropping in words like frequently, seldom, usually.
So it's like you're just listening in and bam, grammar lesson.
Exactly. Stealth learning, right? And you mentioned frequently. This is where they get clever. They compare frequently to often, which you'd think are the same.
Yeah, you do.
But they point out frequently means it happens more often than often does.
Like a lot.
Yeah, like going to the gym often versus frequently. If it's frequently, you practically live there.
Right. They give an example. Stephanie says, I frequently forget my keys, which is a big problem.
Oh, yeah.
So she's not just saying it happens. It's like a constant thing.
A running gag almost. But who hasn't been there, right? The keys thing.
It's relatable, so you remember the grammar. Then they go to like every now and then or from time to time.
Yeah, more vague.
Right. No set schedule.
Which is interesting because in English, we can be super specific every day or all loosey-goosey.
Exactly. So you're not learning a list. You're learning how to actually say things different ways.
I also like how they sneak in vocabulary. Like when Stephanie's talking hair, she says blow dry, flat iron, frizzy.
And they don't just leave you hanging. They actually explain what each thing is.
Mini vocab lesson inside the grammar lesson. It's efficient.
Makes you remember it better that way.
And then, the best part, they tell you to try it yourself. Describe your morning routine, but use all these adverbs.
So smart. You actually have to do it, not just listen.
It's interactive, which I love. They want you to participate.
Yeah.
But there's something else we haven't mentioned. Pronunciation.
Oh, right.
Because knowing the word is one thing, but saying it wrong, people won't get you. So they talk about often, how some people drop the T sound.
Right, like often.
Yeah, and they say both ways are fine, but you got to know it exists. Especially with different accents and all.
Makes sense.
And they don't just do single words, they do phrases too. Like every now and then, they break it down, syllable by syllable.
Like a pronunciation guide, which is helpful.
It's attention to detail that's impressive.
Yeah.
They're not just basics, they're going deeper.
Giving you the tools so you sound good, not just correct.
Exactly. And as much as I love the pronunciation part, their vocabulary approach is killer too. It's not just defining words, it's using them in a real situation.
Stephanie's hair routine.
Yeah.
They're sneaky about it.
Right. Blow dry, flat iron, all that. But because it's about something we all kind of get, you learn the words without even trying.
Subtle but effective.
Yeah.
No flashcards needed.
Proves language learning can be fun and not scary, you know?
It's about how people actually talk, not just textbook stuff.
And that's our takeaway for today. You don't got to be a grammar whiz to speak well. Be curious, try stuff, and don't take it all so seriously.
Well said. And remember, this podcast is just one example. There's tons of stuff out there to help you with English.
Absolutely. Find what you like, what makes you want to learn more. But hold on, we're not done yet.
Oh, right, there's more. In the next part, we're getting into those little differences between adverbs of frequency, like when to use which one and how to not mess it up.
So stick around, because we're about to uncover even more about these sneaky little words.
Picking up on that humor thing, I loved how they use it to make the grammar stick.
Oh, for sure. Like when Jacob's all, my routine, I get up and go, compared to Stephanie's whole production.
Yeah. But it's not just funny. It shows how those adverbs say something about them. Stephanie's always usually doing this, frequently doing that. She's got a system.
And Jacob's just showered, done, every time, basically.
Right. It's like their grammar gives them a personality, makes it more interesting to remember.
And less scary to learn, because you're laughing along.
Totally. But relatable too, right? Like when Stephanie says she seldom showers under 20 minutes. I felt that.
Oh, tell me about it. But that's the smart part. They take these grammar words, which could be boring, and make them like a shared struggle.
Exactly. Seldom isn't just in a textbook. It's something we've all lived.
It's like grammar isn't just rules. It's how we connect with people, you know?
Big time. And that leads to something else this podcast does well. It's not just words. It's how we actually talk.
Yeah. They bring in all those phrases we use every day. Wake up, get dressed, like the stuff of life.
And they fit them right into the grammar lesson. So it's not forced, it flows.
Like you're picking it up naturally.
Right. It's like, hey, this is how native speakers really do it.
Not just textbook stuff,
Ooh.
which is more helpful, really. But It's not enough to just listen. This podcast is big on actually doing something.
Oh, yeah. They don't let you off easy. Remember the challenge. Describe your morning using all those adverbs we talked about.
Love that. Makes you actually think, okay, how would I say it?
Way better than just memorizing.
It's empowering, right? They want you to use the language, not just know it.
Makes you feel like you can do it, which for a learner is huge.
Motivation is half the battle, I swear.
So true. And speaking of different skills, their vocabulary stuff is just as good as the grammar, I think.
Totally agree. They go deep.
Stephanie's hair routine again, that's where they sneak it in.
Smart, right? Words like blow dry, flat iron, frizzy, all these things some people might not know.
But because it's in this story about hair, which we all get, it's sneaky learning again.
You absorb it without realizing.
Yeah.
No flashcards, no stress.
Sort vocabulary doesn't got to be boring.
And it shows how language has all these sides, you know? It's not just grammar, it's not just words, it's the whole package.
They've done a really good job making it a whole learning experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's inspiring. It makes you feel like mastering English isn't this impossible thing.
Like it can be fun even, which, let's be honest, helps a lot.
Huge difference. But we're just scratching the surface, people.
Right. Don't go anywhere. Up next, we're talking about those tricky little things that trip people up with adverbs of frequency. And even more ways to practice so you actually get good at this stuff.
Okay, back to those adverbs and all their little quirks.
It's like the deeper we go, the more there is to discover, right?
Totally. We're past the basics now, getting into the nitty-gritty.
And that's where those subtle differences between words really matter. Like often versus frequently.
The podcast makes a big deal about that, yeah.
Because they do both mean something happens a lot, but...
Frequently is like next level.
Yeah, it's not just common, it's almost like a rule.
And they use Stephanie's key forgetting thing to show it.
Perfect example. Because we all forget stuff sometimes, but she's saying it's constant.
By using frequently, it becomes a bigger problem, not just a random oops.
Exactly. And it's funny, too, because who hasn't been that person searching for keys like crazy?
Makes you pay attention to the grammar when it's something you relate to.
For sure. And then they go beyond just those two words, right? They give you a whole range of options.
Oh, yeah. Like seldom, for when something almost never happens. Or every now and then, which is way more casual.
It's like they're saying, English has a word for every level of how often you can think of.
And that's got to be helpful for learners to have all those choices.
Huge. It's not just knowing the words, but which one fits best in each situation. Like, that's the nuance.
But knowing is one thing. This podcast is all about using the language, too. Remember that challenge they gave?
The morning routine thing. So good. You had to actually put the adverbs into practice.
Forces you to go beyond just listening and understanding.
Yeah.
It's like, now make it your own.
And that's what makes it stick, when you actually have to do something with the knowledge.
Absolutely. And that active learning, it builds confidence, too.
So true. But there's another challenge for English learners we got to talk about, pronunciation.
Ugh, yeah, those sounds can be tricky.
But this podcast, they tackle it head on. They even talk about often and how some people say it.
Oh, right, like often dropping the T.
And they're like, hey, both ways are fine. But you got to know they both exist.
Because accents and all that.
Yeah.
Right? People say things different ways.
And that can throw you off if you're not used to it. But they go even further than just single words.
Oh, yeah. The phrases, like, every now and then, they break it down slowly.
So helpful. Like a pronunciation guide built right in.
It shows they really care about making sure you not only understand, but can say it correctly, too.
And it reminds you to pay attention to how native speakers talk. That's where you learn the most sometimes.
Absolutely. You pick up those little things you wouldn't get from a textbook.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into adverbs, I think the biggest takeaway is don't be afraid to mess up.
Oh, that's such good advice. People get so scared of making mistakes.
But that's how you learn. It's part of the process.
Every time you mess up, it's a chance to figure out what you don't know yet and fix it.
Exactly. So embrace those mistakes. They're proof you're trying, which is what matters.
And the more you use English, even if it's not perfect, the better you'll get. That's just how it works.
And don't forget to have fun with it. Learning a language shouldn't be a chore. It should be exciting.
Totally agree. So keep exploring, keep trying new things, and you'll get there.
That's a wrap on adverbs of frequency, folks.
Thanks for diving in with us. Until next time, keep those language adventures going.